You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of Father's Day, June 21st, 2020. This is episode 158. From that city by the Sailor Sea, I am AJ Barsay.
And still straight out of 98226, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, we are continuing the Quarantine Chronicles distance conversation, discussion, whatever have you. This is Volume 8. You are listening to the Bellingham Podcast.
Well, Chris, it's been some time. How you been?
It's been a couple weeks. Back on the stick again. Had some family life milestones as of late, which was why, if you've noticed in your podcast feed, we haven't shown up since our well-received from the couple folks that have chimed in episode that we had last time. We are not in full-on yuck mode. However, I kind of like the theme music.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, yes. How about yourself, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, things going as good as can be expected, Chris. It was nice to have a week reprieve, especially after having our guest contributor Darren Brown on the show and stuff.
Yes.
And but no, I mean, it was a nice reprieve, kind of getting myself back into a good space, and good conversations had been had.
Yes.
And that's
important conversations.
And I think, I mean, that's all we could have ever asked for at an episode. So thanks to all of our listeners.
As far as a family milestone, my wife's and my daughter graduated from a high school here in Bellingham, and that was a wonderful opportunity, experience, event, despite it having a huge neon glowing asterisk by it for not having a full-on traditional graduation ceremony. Yeah, a gathering. It was, in Bellingham, there are 3 high schools and a couple other non-public high schools. They did the best they could with the situation. And while there were virtual grad walks and vehicle parades through town.
I heard them.
Yes.
I heard them all up and down the street.
The parents and the students, had to have some kind of acknowledgement for the achievement, the work that's been done. And for my little sweetie, who I remember as a little shrimpy back in 2010 when my wife and she and I became a family. That was a wonderful 10 years in the making. But congratulations on graduating, daughter, and good luck at where you are headed in the university this fall.
Yeah.
So anyway, good time with family. I decided family stuff priority over the podcasting.
Yeah.
And for those of you, money back guarantee. So there you go.
I think it worked out. I mean, with everything that was going on and stuff, we wanted to give pause, and it worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, and also to Chris's daughter, I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
There you go. All right. So sounds good. Let's get on to
get back
other
in the
topics.
rhythm. Let's get on the rhythm of positivity like we used to be.
Let the rhythm hit him, if you will.
Drop the beat, Chris.
I'm about to. Anyway, moving on.
So Father's Day is this weekend.
Yes.
Here in the U.S.
And I've been a stepfather for a decade, and you've been a daddy-o for
almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. So congratulations on
yes. High five.
Self high five. That's right. Very cool. However, while it is a day to celebrate, just like Mother's Day, as we give props to all the work that's done 365 or 66 days a year that occurs. I want to take mention, and if this is a downer, so be it. But it's half my show, so I'm going to go for it. There are some folks out there that this is an annual reminder of the sorrow and or loss one might have when you don't have your father around.
Right.
I, for one, it's been 15 years since I lost my father to a heart attack in his sleep at age 72. Mm-hmm. And so while I appreciate the appreciation for what I'm currently doing, my father is not here for me to celebrate with him, although his memory remains. And then there are also those who are in a situation or a life circumstance where their father wasn't around.
Sure.
And for that, this is a difficult holiday.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, you're not alone. But I wanted to make mention of the folks that may be listening in who don't have that Ward Cleaver, Stephen Keaton. Let's see, who else could I have? The father figures that we saw on TV. Our hearts go out to you in a little bit.
No, that's totally true, Chris. And that's good that we bring it up because, I mean, everybody's in different stages and stuff. To my pops, I just want to say Happy Father's Day.
Absolutely. To AJ's Daddy-O, Happy Father's Day.
Unfortunately, because of COVID and health concerns and stuff, I can't see him and stuff. And I know that there's a lot of other people that are like that. Maybe even you're listening to our show and you're like, man, I wish I could see my dad. He's maybe in a old folks home, or maybe they have health conditions and you can't visit them. So I feel you. This whole situation that we're in globally definitely puts a cramp on family, however you define it, and wherever they may be at. So.
Here's hoping that the 2021 Father's Day, Mother's Day, Grandparents' Day, Kids' Day, whatever day you may be celebrating, can be done in person without 6 foot, 10 foot.
With the whole
distance.
kit caboodle, Chris. I mean, blow out the stops, whole 9 yards.
My caboodle is ready to engage with people in close proximity. For those that do have fathers that they want to celebrate, AJ, what are some ideas to be able to get them a little something or show them a little bit of appreciation?
As I like to call it, so in years past, we usually do a Father's Day episode. This is, I think, the 4th annual Bellingham podcast Father's Day extravaganza episode.
Sure.
And this one, I jokingly, lovingly want to call this Father's Day ordering in.
There you go. I'm down with that.
So the first thing I want to say is, this year's a little bit different. I think you and I are kind of on the same wavelength because of the economy and everything else here. First one I want to throw out is, honestly, here in Washington State, go down to your local shop that does outdoor stuff. For me, I recommend Jaeger's over on Northwest?
Northwest, and they are on the Bellingham podcast goods list.
Yes, they are the goods. Jaeger Sporting Goods. Go get you want to have a cool surprise, go get a fishing license for you and your pops and go fishing. My son and I did that last year. And, it's just one of those things where I'll even throw out, if you're, because we have colleagues that are new parents. Kids fish free in our state up to a certain age. So it's kind of buy one, get one free in my book. So
it's a BOGO fest.
Right? So it's it's a deal for dads. And, you can go out and do, the weather finally has started to look better. It's been kind of miserable for the last 2 weeks. And of course, Captain Get Out over here, get out with your family,
And my other alias, Lieutenant Experience in this case.
Lieutenant Experience.
That's right. Along these lines, you can, so many articles, if you were to do a search, and I'm not recommending Google, but if you do a search on the web, unique Father's Day gifts.
Top 10 buyer's guides for fathers.
It's going to cost casual. It's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
We're in the era and the mindset of experiences. And while this isn't a completely uniquely original experience, here's my biggest recommendation. I only have one because I'm a father and I don't play one on TV, but I've got some experience. And I think attention and appreciation is one thing. A card could be wonderful, but the weather's getting nicer here in the Northern Hemisphere. Take your dad out for a walk if you're able to, or if you're able to enjoy the outdoors, fresh air, cool. But ask them questions about themselves. Very rarely are dads viewed, oh, by the way, they were once a bachelor. By the way, they once had a life outside of you, kiddo.
What? I don't understand this, Chris.
It wasn't like just open up a door and out pops a father. Ask them about what their life was like back 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Back in my day.
Exactly. And ask them what was life like back when you fill in the blank. When you graduated high school, when you were in college, and do you know where they went to college?
Yeah.
Do you know what their most embarrassing experience was?
Doesn't exist. All dads are impermeable to that.
Some dads may not want to reveal that much vulnerable information about themselves, but to inquire about some of their interests, some of their past history. What was the most exciting time that you had before meeting mommy? Hey, guess what? Free information. 1995, going to see Van Halen at the Gorge. Thank you very much. Free information. Ask them about themselves. Give them a chance. Give them an opportunity to talk about themselves. That's my best recommendation.
That's rad. Another recommendation I have is, of course, coming from the photographer here. In years past, I've mentioned, make something sentimental for them for their Mother's Day or Father's Day. I mean, see previous episodes, like making a calendar and stuff. This kind of dovetails a little bit into tech as well as memory or memoir. And the fine folks over at Fujifilm, I love their equipment. They're not a sponsor.
But hey, Fuji, if you want to sponsor the show, get in touch with AJ. We'd be happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, the Analog Explorer would like to talk to you. So, no, so Fujifilm, one of the things I really appreciate their company and technology is they still stayed in the film game, even through digital. And I know that sounds a little bit backwards, but you are talking to the Analog Explorer after all. There is a series of printers, and I use the lowercase p on printer here. They have this film technology called Instax. It's basically their version of a Polaroid film, and it's an instant film. They have a printer that will print back to film. And if you go back into the Bellingham Podcast archives, you will see a Christmas video episode. It's the only video episode Chris and I ever did, where I showed their very first version of this, the SP1.
Our faces are still made for radio.
Oh, very much so, Chris. But the Instax technology has progressed to the point where they've got some really nice technology. The images are a lot sharper on that instant film. Well, they have this SP3, so 3 models after that one review episode that we did back in Christmas 4 years ago now, Chris?
Back in the good old days.
Back in the good old days. The SP3 is basically your ability to get some instant film, develop it yourself, as it were, connect it to your phone, because we all have hundreds of thousands of photos on our phone. Get them off your phone and give them to your Padre. Okay. And that's what I'm recommending. These printers usually go for about $100. And film packs, you can find them on that one website that we never really mention on the show. Usually you can get them for like, $10 a box, or so. But here's something you can make. Okay. You can make, if you have, photos that are just lying on as digital dust in our cabinets that are known as our phones, get them out into the physical world and hand them or mail them if you can't see your folks.
I believe you've been promoted from Captain Get Out to Major Maker.
Oh, I like that.
There you go.
Do you have another one, Chris?
I do not.
Okay.
I think, Father's Day, it's a day to show appreciation. Yes, blessing them with a cool idea like that to make something. Great idea. I'm just tapped out because I don't really like the spotlight. I'm not the one effusing. I'm not effusive for things to be able to get because I'm in a season of giving with what I'm doing right now.
So my last recommendation, and it's a little bit pricier, but I've gotten this. So a lot of my friends and our colleagues are having their first or second child. And as the token watch guy, I get this question a lot. What would be a good first dad watch? Something that's doesn't say Rolex or anything like that, but something that they can reliably do daddy duty on. And I've written about this and said this a lot on the show. To dovetail into the watch fam, I want to throw out a really cool watch that recently dropped by the folks over at Seiko. The model, as it were, it's called a reference number, is SRPE61K1. And it's $275, and it comes in 3 varieties where this watch basically is built off of like the same watch that you're wearing, the old SKX 007. The thing is, this isn't a dive watch, and I get this question a lot. Like, hey, I read your blog and I understand about I don't want a dive watch. Totally understand. So what Seiko did is they finally took the dive aspect, the bezel off, put a fixed bezel on. It looks more like kind of like a Rolex Datejust type of. If you drew a classic watch, that is what this looks like. Has a day-date complication and it has different dials. You can get a blue, black, or anthracite, I'm going to call it. It's kind of like a silvery thing. Automatic movement, comes with a NATO or a bracelet, depending on which variety. But for $275, and that's MSRP. I mean, you can find it cheaper elsewhere. But this is a new watch from Seiko, and it's 40 millimeters. It's a little bit smaller than yours. So if you have smaller wrists and you're a new dad and you want, or if you're the mom and you're trying to get that husband of yours a Father's Day present, look at that watch, because it's one of those unassuming. It doesn't scream I am an adventurer or I'm rolling in the Benjamins. It's just a good, robust dad watch.
And every time they look at that watch, they're going to have a reminder of that life moment that occurred that is so meaningful for the family. And I agree totally.
Yeah. So, and if you want I don't have one hands on because it is a brand new watch. Actually, I'm going to give a shout out to the guys over at 40 and 20, the guys out of Eugene, Oregon.
Hello, 40 and 20.
Everett and Andrew, I believe, ordered one each. So I believe up on their site and on their show, they're going to mention it. By the time this goes out, you'll probably find some more details there if you want a more watch fam robust review of them, if I had to guess. So on that note, I do have to say that there's one Father's Day present that is the gift that keeps on giving, and you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
They are community powered for all the dads and moms and kiddos in this area, and streaming worldwide, all over the internet, wherever you're at kmre.org. Thank you very much.
Man, it feels good to get back into the rhythm, Chris.
I actually have these little game show announcer Tourette's that that occur every now and then.
So this comes up to our more important thing that we had to put on hiatus.
Yes.
The Bellingham Bingo.
Absolutely. This is part of the Quarantine Chronicle legacy that we are having. When we can't really sit down for a meal out, you got to get takeout. And I'll go first on this one because on the O column, 56, sure, why not? I really have enjoyed the experience, online ordering experience, mind you, from On Rice, get the O, both in Fairhaven and in Barclay Village.
Yeah.
And since we live in nearer Barclay than Fairhaven, I've patronized their restaurant a couple times to get some high-quality Thai food. I'm always a big fan of the Pad CU. Love the Pad Thai with whatever addition protein you want. Meat, chicken, beef, tofu, and it's a big American-sized portion.
I was going to say, it's a heaping pile of food.
Indeed, and this could actually, be a takeout that can get you 2 meals if you want. So I'm a fan of On Rice in my O column. I'm getting close to it now. I've been keeping track. Not quite getting the bingo, but that's where I'm at. AJ, what about yourself?
So I also had to ruminate on the fact that my choices do not have bingo. So this week I made sure I picked one. Wild Oat O.
There you go.
So I'm in the O73.
That works. Sure.
Wild Oat Bakery. They're located in downtown Bellingham. I think they're the goods. The cool thing about this is, and I mentioned this a few episodes back, for our vegan or veggie-centric listeners, here's a place that you can get good baked goods that are vegan. Because a while back I mentioned the Iron Rooster and stuff, and everything is laden in butter. So if you wanted an alternative to that, I wanted to posture them. And while they also make some really groovy sandwiches, even if you're carnivorous, they have this mushroom sandwich. They make their own in-house mushroom meat, for lack of better terms. And so if you want like a roast dip type of thing, even if you're carnivorous, it's really, really tasty.
In the words of our French compadres, vive la différence.
Vive la différence.
And Wild Oat, I don't know what the French translation of that would be, but as far as...
Le Wild Oat.
Le Wild Oat, thank you very much. You're awesome. That would be a great place for the variety that we have available for us in currently phase 2 here in Bellingham. Get yourself some takeout. And enjoy that. What else has been going on that you've noticed in various content consumption areas?
So wrapping up this episode, we are going into, of course, our quality assurance picks that Chris and I assure you have some sort of quality that's important to us.
And once again, money back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied as we have been.
Okay, so rewinding a little bit, early in our Chronicles, if not before we even broke into this whole quarantine situation we're in, you had brought up a really remarkable documentary about silence.
Yes.
And you actually went kind of hog wild in the Schwag arena for that, supporting that project.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that really drew me in is the way the cinematography was done. And I mentioned that on the show, that first initial shot where it was done intentional and you could tell. So I stumbled upon I'm going to say he's a local creative on YouTube. I mean, at the time of this recording, the video that I'm going to mention, and the link is in the show notes.
For the love of the warlord and the barbarian, drink.
It's only about 100,000 views and stuff. Let's throw him some love. The name of this short, for lack of better terms, is The Sound of the Pacific Northwest, and it's a cinematic travel film. And his name is Aiden, and you can watch also a behind the scenes, the 19-minute behind the scenes of the cinematic. But some of the ways that him and his compadres, he kind of enlisted the help of 3 other creatives. One that's a first-person drone flyer, a buddy of his that's an avid hiker and knows the lay of the land around the Pacific Northwest, all the way out to like Port Angeles and as far as I think Portland, Oregon.
Sure.
And if you're a hiker, if you grew up in the Pacific Northwest, you'll immediately see a lot of the sites that they capture, such as the downed plain that's outside of Portland, Nia Bay, you name it. Like there's some very token Pacific Northwest shots. That's not what drew me into this.
What drew you into it, pray tell?
He focused his entire cinematic narrative around the sound of the Pacific Northwest. And he did that first, then fetched the visual second.
So did he capture the sounds of espresso machine type things?
Funny? No. The opposite, because
I thought it was funny, but
the sound, though, the little spoiler alert, the ending is him waking up to an alarm, which we all have on our phones, at the crack of dawn, which is something, we all like to do when you're out in the mountains, unzips his tent, the sound of that zipper, walking in the crisp air to go to the closest stream to fill up that pot for your jet boil to make that first cup of coffee. And it's interesting, like, I can describe to you that anybody who has done that almost as like a religion in the Pacific Northwest, he has that feeling in spades in this short. So I just wanted to throw Aiden a shout out. Like I said, it is a really well done piece. So that's my pick. What about you, Chris?
I got a couple of things actually, because I've been consuming content since I'm spending my day at home and spending my evening at home. When I'm not working, looking at a screen, I'm usually watching a screen or reading a book or something like that. But a while back, a few episodes ago, I had talked about a YouTube channel called Peaceful Cuisine, which is a wonderful, quiet, overhead shot kind of view of a talented chef making dishes. Well, got one along those same lines, in the same vein, or in the case if you're a prawn fan, the deveined, I don't know where that one came from. But anyway, there are street food vlogs out there on the YouTube, and there are three that I've thoroughly enjoyed after looking at a number of them. Basically what happens is people will go to the night markets or the food vendor zones and things and film these amazingly talented, they need to have at least 3 more zeros to their paycheck, food vendors, and how they take huge cavernous vats, woks, grills, skillets, you name it, and create mass quantities of food for the people around who, are consuming this. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun to enjoy this. So there's a fellow by the name of Mark Weens, and got links to their channel should you be interested. Dancing Bacons.
Oh, I love the name.
Which drew me into the name itself, but they're mainly in the Asia continent.
Oh, okay.
For what they are filming, and Travel Thirsty. And so these are 3 YouTube channels that just show the cooks, the chefs, the food preparers preparing the food. And if there's one thing I thoroughly enjoy, it's more of a quirky chuckle that I get every time the food is prepared and they take a bite. Now, we watching the video can't smell the smells or taste the tastes, but they always, without fail, have a or some kind of pleasing reaction on their face. It's hilarious. It's like the street food vlog drinking game. Never once have I seen them going, in disgust.
That gets cut, Chris.
I would imagine so. But if you want something different in your consumption, plus if you want a good excuse to get hungry, check out some of these street food vlogs. The other area that I've been trying to do more of is reading physical paper books and to not look at screens, because I got to shoot straight with y'all. I'm getting a little overdone. I'm reaching the end point in my relationship with technology and screens, since it's so much. I'm like Templeton at the end of the carnival in Charlotte's Web.
Come to the analog side, Chris.
Yeah, I've already been dancing around there. Yeah, no need to tempt me. So there's a fella that I've been following for about a decade. He's a blogger. He's a muse, if you will. His name's Derek Sivers. Derek Sivers used to own a CD Baby back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Sold that for a chunk of change, and has been a worldwide famous blogger, writer, et cetera, et cetera. And I subscribed to his blog, and I added my name to his list of newsletters and such. Very authentic, very genuine. And I received this email this morning, actually, before we recorded. Dragged my carcass into my office about 10 steps away, fired up my personal email, and saw this rather personal link. Hi there. It's not like a formulated email like a lot of companies do, but he goes, you submitted this email address to a list to be notified when I have a book available. If you click this link, you can get an opportunity to purchase it. Well, I did, and it was before work. So I'm like, let's go for it. And this is almost like an immediate reflex purchase from some person that I hold in high regard. The new book by Derek Sivers is called Your Music and People, Creative and Considerate Fame, and the tagline is a philosophy of getting your work to the world by being creative, considerate, resourceful, and connected. AJ, I think he was writing it with you in mind.
I guess. Thank you, Mr. Sivers, for that. That was excellent.
Yep, it's $15, and you can also get a pre-advanced copy of the hardback paper version, which I naturally did because I want to support homebrew creators, if you will. And so Derek Sivers, the one thing that I give as a piece of advice, I actually got to do this, bestow this piece of advice for my daughter as she's graduating high school and about to embark on college away from the nest. And for those of you listening out there, I may have mentioned it. I'm going to mention it again. As you're making a life decision, as you're having a choice on what to do, someone to date, someone to be friends with, some article of clothing to purchase, whatever it might be, if it's not a hell yeah, then it's a no. And that came from Derek Sivers. So with someone who has philosophized like that, how could I not buy a book from this fine gent?
Hell yeah.
Exactly. That's not going to get us the explicit tag, is it?
No, hell's fine.
Okay, cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
FCC shouldn't have a problem with it either.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So AJ, what else be going on for you?
So, I mean, as Chris and I are kind of getting back on the stick, I just want to thank everybody who has stayed with us through the Quarantine Chronicles and through just listening to our shows. I've seen a lot of uptick in our stats. So I just want to say, thank you wherever you're at in the world. And I know, Sri Lanka, you're still listening to us. And
we still love you.
And we still love you. France, Spain, Portugal.
For the 5 or 6 people that are listening to us now, no, we thoroughly appreciate it.
UK. I just want to say thank you. Chris and I, when we started the show 4 years ago now, it started off as a local show and then it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And, we've now have relationships with a lot of you that are listening and stuff. So I just want to say thank you. These are some awkward times and I'm glad that Chris and I have a community of folks that like us for who we are.
And it gives us an opportunity. I mean, we are blessed to be able to have this voice and we attempt to use it for good. We really haven't encountered much negativity, which has been a blessing. And of course, I just jinxed us. Yeah. But for all of those of you...
Send all the trolls hate mail to Chris.
Yeah, go find me on the internet if you can. But for those of you listening and appreciating our work, thank you for taking the time, these 30-minute chunks of your life. Maybe less if you listen to us on 1.3x. If that's the case, we really appreciate how you're doing that. And we want to continue to have you listen to our show. And the creative editing is done by AJ Barcet for our summer recording studio, which we didn't mention during our show. We are at the Northridge Trail on these wonderful 3 benches. As we're recording, we have a bunch of walkers, dog walkers, joggers, and other people passing by. But anyway, thank you for the audio engineering for what you're going to be doing. Yeah. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, and we are abiding by our Governor Jay Inslee's. I think we got about a good 10-foot.
I'm thinking 11 feet. Let's go 15. Why not? Let's exaggerate.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, and Jay, I know you're listening, so thank you anyway.
Thanks, Gov.
So that wraps up for this edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us. That means you, Governor Jay Inslee. Wherever you like to get your podcast. If you are in the Bellingham area, you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
They're streaming worldwide at kmre.org, and they are the favorite choice of every single person on this planet.
Well stated. From the city by the Salish Sea again, I'm AJ Barcet.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thank you once again for joining us here on the Bellingham Podcast.
Could that chopper get any louder? Dude, that's like every bit of 5 dB.
Yeah.